Hey everyone, and welcome back to PJ Talks. It's your host, John, and this week we are on episode 2 of the series called Triggered, How Christians Should Respond to Being Offended. Last week we opened up how really this world is becoming this age of offended. Everything offends everybody. We are always offended. How do we respond to that? As Christians, what is the danger of us staying offended? Are we allowed to be offended? We kind of dove into that. This week, we are diving into one of the most common ways that we do get hurt, which is words, right? Maybe a text, maybe a comment, even a rumor can cut deep. But what if instead of letting words wound us, we learn to respond the way Jesus would? You see, James warns us that our words can carry enormous power, and we're going to dive into what he says. We're going to dive into what God says, and I got a few different illustrations that I'm excited to share. I know this episode is going to be really powerful, and praying that it's impactful in your life. So stay with me as we dive into this episode 2 of Triggered series called When Words Wound.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, so when words wound. There, said it correctly. Man, my first point here is words carry power to bless or to burn. Once again, James warns us that our words carry enormous power. We see in James chapter 3, verses 5 through 6. It says, "So also the tongue is a small member, yet it boasts of great things. How great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire, a world of unrighteousness. The tongue is set among our members, staining the whole body, setting on fire the entire course of life, and set on fire by hell." You see, words are small, but man, are they incredibly impactful. Again, last week, I mentioned sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I don't know who created that saying, but boy, are they wrong. Words sting. And they'll fester into the back of our mind, and we'll just kind of munch on them throughout the day, the evening, the week, the month. And if we're not careful, they'll turn into bitterness. You see, in our culture, often people say, speak your truth, right? But God always tells us to speak life. I have written down here, one offhand comment online can ruin someone's day, but one kind word can redeem it. Words leave marks long after they're spoken. Man, I don't know about you, but I'm really good at arguing about an hour after an argument, right? All of a sudden, after you have this big argument, you think of all the great things you could have said. Oh man, I could have said this. I could have made this point here. I could have twisted them up on their words here. You know what? Their logic is wrong here. And all of a sudden, I got a whole way better argument like an hour after the argument happened. But if I'm being honest, man, I would normally be more mean and less Christ-like if I'd respond after an argument. You see, when someone is angry at me, truthfully, a few verses kind of pop in my head as we're kind of going back and forth. The first one is Matthew chapter 5, verse 9, which is, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God." And this comes to mind of, okay, how can I make peace here? How can I make peace? And Philippians 2, verse 3 through 4 also comes to mind. It says, "Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not on only his own interest, but also the interest of others." Okay, look, it's not me. It's not what does John want? What will make John feel right? What will cure my justice system? How can I make this person feel better? And then Proverbs 15:1, it says, "A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." Man, I would rather concede in a fight than continue for the sake of, well, I was technically not wrong, and this is why I need to prove you wrong. Like, man, just concede. It's not worth it. Blessed are the peacemakers. Man, respond gently with somebody. You see, your words are either gasoline or grace, so choose wisely. So these verses remind me that number 2, we need to respond spiritually, not emotionally. We read in Romans chapter 12, verse 17 through 21. It says, "Repay no one evil for evil, but give thought to do what is honorable in the sight of all. If possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, 'Vengeance is mine, I will repay,' says the Lord. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink, for by so doing you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. You see, our natural instinct is retaliation. We immediately want to go boom and like fight back. As soon as someone says something sharp, we immediately want to fight back. And sometimes I can be quick with my tongue. But a spiritual response is restraint. We overcome hurt with kindness and not revenge. Doing this, overcoming hurt with kindness is not weakness. It's not. It's not you becoming a doormat. It's not you being, like I said, a weaker link. It's reflecting Christ under pressure. I think of Joseph, right? Joseph was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, and forgotten in prison. And yet his response, when he finally rose to power in Egypt and he had a chance to punish his brothers, to take revenge, rather Joseph forgave them instead of taking revenge. We read in Genesis 50, verse 20, it says, you meant evil against me, speaking to his brothers. You meant evil against me. You did me wrong. You were nasty. So yes, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. We see that Joseph saw God's hand even in the pain and chose forgiveness instead of revenge. Man, he had plenty of years to take revenge, and yet he never did. And then I also think of David and King Saul, right? Saul hunted David out of jealousy, trying to kill him. Literally, Saul's trying to kill David multiple times. And twice, David had the opportunity, really the perfect opportunity, to kill Saul, but refused. Rather, he said, I will not stretch out my hand against the Lord's anointed. We see 1 Samuel 24, verse 12. It says, may the Lord judge between me and you, but my hand shall not be against you. I'm not fighting. David's like, Saul, I'm not fighting you. You have some anger issue with me. I'm not fighting you. I could easily kill you. Yep, I had an opportunity, but man, I am not doing it. I'm not partaking in this fight. You see, David trusted God to bring justice instead of taking it into his own hands. Man, and then our best example is Jesus. Falsely accused, mocked, spat on, and yet he never retaliated. He could have called down legions of angels to protect him, and yet he bore the cross in our shame. That's power under control. So when someone's words hurt you, man, pause, pray. Right? And ask God, Lord, what do you want me to do before I respond? Man, this person said this thing to me. This person did this here. This person texted me this thing here. Before I respond, what would you like me to do? That is something that honestly I kind of love AI for. If I get a text message absolutely ripping me or ripping something to shreds, I highlight it immediately, I put it in ChatGPT or I put it in Grok, and I say, I was sent this text, I want to say, and I dump it all out. I want to say blah, 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 but make it nicer. I said respond, and I quote the verses that I quoted before, respond using these scripture, and then I have it send it back to me. And then normally ChatGPT puts it in perspective, and then I read it. I'm like, wow, okay, yep. Let me take a moment, let me pray on it, and let me just readjust the way I want to respond. Rather, how would God want me to respond? So the most powerful response isn't hitting back, rather it's lifting up. Okay, so our words can either burn or bless. We need to respond spiritually, not emotionally, but most importantly, we need to guard our heart against lingering offense. In Colossians 3:13, it says, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other. As the Lord has forgiven you, so also you must forgive. Let's just munch on that. Forgive as Christ forgave you. Okay, if I'm to apply that verse practically to my life, what has Christ forgiven me for? Everything. How often does he forgive me? All the time. Even when I make repeat offenses, even when I say bad things towards Christ, even when I tell him I'm going to do something, but when I end up not doing it and I don't keep my word, or maybe I lie against him, maybe I use his name in vain, maybe I'm having a repeat offense and I'm going to him time and time and time again, and yet Christ forgives me over and over and over. Just as Christ has forgiven me, I need to forgive others. even when they treat me poorly, even when they lie to me, even when it's their repeat offense, even when it's, X, Y, and Z. Forgive as Christ forgives you. Okay, don't let these words, these hurtful words, take root into bitterness. Guard your peace, right? But not just your pride. Do a study on Ahithophel. Okay, Ahithophel, Ahithophel. Okay, it's Ahithophel. It is a powerful story of bitterness and how it can destroy a person. So I'm going to give you a quick backstory, okay? Ahithophel was the wisest in the land, okay? He was King David's right-hand dude, giving him all the wisdom, all the advice, all right? But when we read that Ahithophel, we read that he turned against David, actually, and started to follow David's son, Absalom, okay, and in trying to kill King David. We see his anger and bitterness boiled to this point in 2 Samuel 17:1. It says, moreover, Ahithophel said to Absalom, man, let me choose 12,000 men, and I will rise, and I'll pursue David tonight. And he goes into it, like, man, let me kill David myself. So we see if this Ahithophel, David's right-hand guy, best buddy, giving him all the wisdom, turned to, man, I want to kill this guy myself. What a huge change of anger and bitterness. And as you read, you're like, man, what happened to this guy? But then we continue reading in 2 Samuel 17:23 because Absalom started using Ahithophel for wisdom, and then Ahithophel gave Absalom some wisdom, but then Absalom didn't listen to it. And we see in 2 Samuel 17:23, it says, when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his donkey and went off home to his own city. He set his house in order and hanged himself. And he died and was buried in the tomb of his father. You see, what's wild is finding out why Ahithophel was so bitter. He went from David's right-hand guy to absolutely wanting to kill him, and then when he didn't get the opportunity to kill him, he ends up hanging himself. Like, man, if that's not a picture of bitterness, I don't know what is. But what's even crazier is, like, man, when did this happen? When did this bitterness start taking root? And you read multiple verses, and you see that Ahithophel, was Bathsheba's grandfather. So now put it all together. Oh, David slept with Bathsheba, had an affair. So you see Ahithophel kind of probably take note and think about it. Like, probably the guards in the castle probably like snickering, like, oh, hey, look at there's Bathsheba's grandfather, and you see the embarrassment, you see the anger against David, all of it, man. And you see this bitterness and this anger take root. Did Ahithophel have the right to be angry? 1,000%. But he held on to that, and he let the hurtful things turn into this bitterness. And what's sad is although I have written down, what's sad is although he was right to be upset because he let bitterness take root and ultimately killed himself, not only did he miss out on a beautiful relationship he could have had with David, but he never got to meet his great-grandson, Solomon. And Solomon was like his great-grandfather, the wisest king to ever live on the earth. Bitterness destroyed what could have been. So, this week, choose one hurtful comment you're holding on to and intentionally release it in prayer. Lord, this person said this to me. Father, this person texted me this. Lord, this person did this thing and said something against me, and I've been harvesting it. I've been munching on it. Let it go. Give it to God and say, Father, this is you. I need you to take this. I need you to respond. Offense unchecked becomes bitterness. Forgiveness frees you. Forgive that person just as Christ has forgiven you. So, recap. Words have power. Your response matters more than offense. So then guard your heart and practice forgiveness. So this week on PJ Talks, notice the words that stick with you. Ask God to help you respond with his love, not in your anger. Write it down, pray, and let his Spirit lead you. So thank you so much for listening. I really, really do appreciate it. Next week, we're going to tackle the art of overlooking. How do you overlook? And then how do you not overlook everything so that you don't become just some doormat who's trampled all over? Okay, we need to be learning to let offenses go before they grow. So this is PJ Talks. trying to help you live a normal Christian life. Thank you again so much for joining us. I'll see you next week on PJ Talks.
1,